On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed.
Beautiful bill goes to the Senate now for consideration. Let's go to Newsmax Capitol Hill correspondent Kilmeny Duchardt for the latest and reaction.
Mark, Charlotte, good to be with you. Wow, what a historic moment in Speaker Johnson's career. This is certainly, of course, has to be at the top here, delivering President Trump and the GOP's massive legislative agenda. And this was not an easy road to get to this point. Obviously, heavy involvement from President Trump in those 11th hour lobbying efforts. We heard him, of course, thanking members of House leadership and members of the committees who were integral in constructing this legislation. There were so many parts. Obviously, this had to advance out of all of those individual committees before it could go, of course, to the Budget Committee. Of course, they stayed through the weekend to work over that. And then it went to the Rules Committee. He had actually a special thanks to Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, who is the chair of the House Rules Committee, for, of course, leading that session for almost 22 hours, referring to her as the Iron Lady. Keep in mind that she's actually 81 years old. So that is, he noted that she only took 2 breaks during that. But obviously, the final vote tally, as House Speaker Mike Johnson gavelled down, was 215 votes in favor, 214 against, 1 voting present. The 2 Republicans to vote no were Republican Congressman Thomas Massie. No surprise there. We've heard the president, of course, rail against him as being a no vote all the time on a lot of those GOP initiatives. And then the second one was Republican Congressman Warren Davidson, who had issues with this bill. Some of the similar complaints that we had heard from members, believing that this would add to the deficit. But everything that we heard from the White House was about how a lot of this had pro-growth initiatives. It met and, in fact, exceeded the $1.5 trillion of spending that had been the goal, the finish line for a lot of the fiscal hawks that we had heard from, as well as what the Senate had agreed to when, of course, this was going back and when the framework was going back and forth. So this is going to be a huge victory lap. Obviously, we saw an effort by the Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats on the House Rules Committee to stall this legislation as quickly as possible. They, of course, have railed against the fact that they say that this is going to rip Medicaid away from people, something that the White House and Republicans have said is absolutely false. Now, some of the changes, the last-minute changes that were made to this legislation in order to get some of these members on board were things like speeding up the work requirements for people on Medicaid. That's moving up to 2026. Adding more incentives for non-expansion states, and also a faster phase out of those Biden energy clean tax credits. So obviously this has been a really long night for Republicans. They, of course, passed a major procedural hurdle at around 4:20 a.m. So there have been hours of debate here, but they can start their Thursday morning with a huge victory. The hard work is going to now begin in the Senate to get this through to President Trump's July 4th deadline.
All right, Kilmeny Duchardt live for us this morning. Not getting any sleep as well. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.